last generation,
I'm
you have a choice.
BasilMotel.com, the Republican
I
candidate
did
for governor.
not have sexual relations with
I
that
realized that this is something
Miss
he is
Lewinsky.
We're not going to be able to solve our problems if we get distracted by sideshows and carnival barkers.
One Republican, one Democrat, and you discuss the issues that matter in today's local, state, national, and global politics. Hosted by Steve Hickson with co-hosts John Stanberry and Franklin Chansey. This is Backfire.
Hey, good morning, Cleveland. Welcome to another edition of Backfire with John Stanberry and Franklin Chansey, and of course myself, Steve Doball Hickson, and my chief engineer, Daniel Brantley.
Good morning, Steve.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Reading here where I guess you probably remember the old tri-state crematory operator Brent Marsh recently completed his 12-year prison sentence for improperly handling 334 bodies. And
that doesn't accurately describe what he did.
yeah, you know, I just don't think this guy can. I don't know. It's going to be dangerous for him to even come back and live in this area. I think there are so many people, so many families. I mean, 334 bodies. That's 334 different families. But,
Or more.
or more.
You think about it.
Yeah, probably more. I just don't understand.
Well, I have friends in Sunday school who, to be honest, never found their mother's body. They had concrete dust in the urn.
Yes, I had.
Don't know where it.
We had
ended
them
up.
at my church, St. Luke's, also.
Yeah.
It's
An incredibly sad situation.
it's just it's pretty sickening, really, that the guy would even do this. He got 12 years in a plea deal, and I don't know if he shouldn't have had 120 years. Anyway, thought I'd just talk about that a little bit this morning. Hey, anybody buying wine this week in the grocery store? Come on now, tell me the truth.
I think the grocery stores had a good weekend.
I think everybody. I talked to some girl that she said that she was the first person at Walmart to buy a bottle of wine, and they took her picture, I think.
Well, I saw. I had at least one group of friends who had a party, a celebration, over their ability to go without having to drive to Chattanooga.
John's being quiet.
Well, I mean, I haven't bought a bottle of wine. It wasn't a big deal to me, but I don't know. I guess my kids say I make everything way too seriously. So I think about our founding fathers, and I think about when I see these surveys and polls of how little people know about our history and what we've done to build this country. And this is the thing that we're excited about is, yay, we can buy wine at the grocery store. So for me, it doesn't portend with a great future for America.
Well, see, someday you'll be sitting on the front porch of Rock and say, I remember when wine came to town. It'll be history then, John.
Well, I'm afraid lots of things will be history then.
Did you go to the GOP forum the other night?
Yes.
Anything interesting happened there? Give us the report.
I had to leave before the final segment. It was a good forum. I thought that came off very well. I think nearly all the candidates showed up. It wasn't a debate. It was really more of they were asked questions and they went down the line and allowed everybody to answer the question.
All right, I saw in the paper where Cleveland State Community College security was going to be allowed to carry weapons.
Mm-hmm. That's a new state law.
Uh-huh. And now then, one of the...
And professors.
And professors, okay. One of the questions...
If they legally meet the qualifications.
Right.
Okay. Now then, one of the questions came up was whether or not full-time school facility should be allowed to carry.
Right.
Full-time who? Faculty.
What did I say? Security? Faculty.
Facility, I think you said.
Well, I may not understand the law completely, but my understanding was professors.
Well, but it applied to higher education.
Only.
So the question was put to the candidates how they felt about that being applied to lower education.
Did how the candidates
You know, I
react to
didn't
that?
listen directly to. I wouldn't want to give each candidate a description, but overall, they were not supportive of it, and I was disappointed in that.
Overall, they were not supportive.
No.
What do they think should happen?
Well, I think our culture is very good about indoctrinating people with what the politically correct stand is, and it's very easy to vilify guns. Now, I actually brought a couple of things that didn't get a lot of attention. For example, a military vet saved the life of a bald eagle using his rifle this past week.
22, I saw that.
The eagle was tangled up in some rope over a tree limb, and he called the different departments, fire department, the Department of Natural Resources, and everyone told him the same thing, that they had known about the eagle for 2.5 days, and there was nothing they could do. So he goes, now here's the interesting part. His rifle didn't have a nice enough scope on it, so he borrowed a friend's rifle with a better scope, and he shot, and it took apparently about 150 shots in about an hour and a half, and he finally shot the rope free, and the eagle fell to the ground, and they did get the eagle. The neighbors named him Freedom, and he's expected now to make a full recovery. But by the way, he borrowed that rifle, and in Washington State, since they passed the universal background check, that's actually illegal what he did. So to borrow the rifle, to free the eagle, you know, a useful use of an inanimate object, was actually illegal under some of the new laws that the liberals in Washington State have passed. Also, there was a complete media silence about a nightclub mass shooting last week. A fight sort of broke out outside of a nightclub. 32-year-old Jody Ray Thompson pulled a gun and began shooting. He shot 3 people. He drew down on the 4th person, who was a licensed concealed carrier, who drew his gun, shot him, and stopped the assault. Now, they're not going to charge the second guy, because he was a licensed
But they didn't
carrier.
talk about it much, is what you're saying.
If he had killed the 4 people, that's considered a mass murder. You have to kill 4 people to be a mass murder. He's been charged with 4 counts of attempted murder and possession of a weapon. But this didn't get any coverage. So here's a mass shooting at a
I read about
nightclub
it.
2 weeks after the Orlando shooting, and no one mentions that a legal concealed carrier stopped that assault.
Well, let's talk about
I
5
read
people.
that story.
Let's talk about 5 people shot in Chattanooga overnight.
Let's talk about what was it, 70 people that were shot in Chicago? Where are the Democrats who are doing the sit-in on the House floor? Where are they on these 70 people that were shot in Chicago this weekend? The president's hometown.
Now, wait a minute. They have gun laws there, don't they?
Oh, it's really the strictest outside of Washington, D.C. in the nation.
How do you get to the view 70 people got shot? So clearly there were a lot of guns there, right?
Right, where it's illegal.
So how do you get to the view that what you need there is more guns?
You're missing the point, Franklin.
No,
Are
it's
any
not.
of the 70 guns legally owned? Probably.
I don't know.
No, probably not.
I don't
So
know.
if they're violating, like, for example, the Columbine boys violated 23 different federal gun control laws.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think a 24th would have stopped them?
I don't know.
No. Anybody with any common sense would say no.
The problem is that there are numerous places to legally obtain those weapons all
They
around
don't
Chicago.
legally- 93% of all guns used in the commission of a crime are obtained illegally, Franklin. 93%.
You know, really and truly, if they just Chicago, what do you think Chicago's got a problem, does it not, Franklin?
In certain neighborhoods, yeah.
I mean, certain,
Sure.
I mean, it has
like
a problem.
Chattanooga has a problem in
That's
certain
right.
neighborhoods.
All right.
Yeah.
Now that-
Both Democratic mayors.
right. What could be done to clean it up?
Well, that's a good question.
Now,
I mean, I'm being completely
Why don't
serious
we
when
talk
I
to-
say I don't know that I know the answer to all that,
well, why don't we
because
talk to
clearly
Rudy?
it's a big issue.
Doesn't Rudy
Well,
have some good-
every state over the last 10, 15 years that passed concealed carry laws saw a reduction in crime. Every
Except
state.
that almost every state in the country saw a reduction in crime.
No, actually, that's
they
not
did.
true. No, that's not true. All of your major cities, which are
No.
are complete
You think-
bans,
you think
have saw
Chicago
an
went
increase.
down?
That's not true.
Did
By the way-
Chicago go down? Did
The
Chattanooga
overall
go down?
crime rate? Yes, it went down.
The
over
murder
the
rate
last 15
hasn't. The
years.
murder rate's gone
John,
up.
I agree with you, but
Okay.
you said the crime rate.
Well,
That's
the
not true.
violent crime rate in Great Britain went up after they passed almost a complete ban on ownership of guns. By the way, a new trove of documents out of Australia has popped up that the government hadn't released, and gun crimes have actually increased in Australia since their confiscation.
They weren't confiscated.
They were confiscated.
No, they weren't. No.
It was an involuntary buyback,
No.
Franklin. What do you call that? And by the way, the bulk of the people didn't turn their guns in, didn't obey the new buyback law.
What happens to them?
Well, those people, if they're caught, are now in violation of the law.
But frankly, I guess if we take Chicago, let's just stick to Chicago for a minute, because it's, that's a pretty big city. It's Chicago, you've been there, I've been there. Chicago's a great city, but it's dangerous there. It's just absolutely dangerous there.
In certain places.
Yeah. And didn't Rudy Giuliani, didn't they do something in New York that really helped the problem they had there at one time? What was it?
It was the opposite of what de Blasio has done. It was all the programs de Blasio has now shut down in New York.
Actually, the rate of crime in New York City has not changed in any significant fashion in the last 2 years, contrary
Right.
to that John's
Well,
statement.
it'll take a little while for it to filter out. By the way, in Chicago, the street stops are down over 90% because the police and the environment that the liberal progressives
down
and that the
90%
president
in New York too.
that the liberal progressives have put in place have scared the police to death, so they're not stopping people. And guess what happens when you don't stop people and ask, hey, what are you doing? Why are you in this neighborhood? More crime happens.
Well, I just know that, when you have 70 shootings?
Yeah, I don't. It was over 70, I believe,
And that's one weekend?
just in the weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a war zone.
Now that's not. Yeah, I agree.
So,
But my point's
mean,
still
if I-
the same.
if-
My
if-
point's still the same. Okay, you don't like the solutions that some people are advocating. Tell me what your solution is, because the only thing I hear is you think everybody needs more guns.
Well,
I
frankly,
don't
if
understand
you're one of
why.
the poor people in the south side of Chicago that the liberal Democratic mayor and the liberal Democratic president have relegated to being locked into your neighborhood of crime, where police are now scared to stop criminals, scared to ask someone what they're doing. If you've locked that person into a dangerous system, what do you say to them when they're sitting there going, every bad guy out there has a gun, not legally, they just have a gun because they know how to get them. But you're telling me I can't legally have a gun.
No, what I'm telling you is you couldn't possibly conclude with any degree of rationality that if somebody wanted a gun in Chicago, they couldn't get it.
You're right.
Okay, hold on. Let me
but the
finish. Let me
intent,
finish my
Franklin.
statement.
go ahead, Franklin.
To what extent does that appear to have helped at all
You're missing
with
the
the
point.
shooting rate?
No, let me explain it
So
to
how
you.
do you get to?
I
How do you
will.
make the gigantic
I will.
leap in
Let-
logic
let me-
that's going to affect the rate?
Let me make the gigantic leap for you that apparently is too gigantic for your liberal mind. Law-abiding citizens generally default towards obeying the law. So the pool of victims for the criminals is bigger because your liberal progressive policies won't allow the good people to legally defend themselves. And so even though they know they're putting themselves at risk, they still obey your asinine gun control laws. And so, they are relegated to victim
So you're
status.
telling me that the victims of all these crimes were largely people who didn't own guns.
A
Is that
lot
what
of
you're
them
telling
are.
me?
Some of them are. Some of them are gang members that ought to be put in jail, but your liberal social policies won't allow that.
Would you agree that the first thing they should start doing in Chicago is probably cleaning up their gang mess?
Sure.
Would that help
Sure.
eliminate a lot of these shootings?
Sure it would.
Well, why don't we start there?
Okay. Build the prisons to house them. And quit your whiny
Build the prisons.
stuff about, oh my God, I might have to pay 2 more cents in taxes.
Build the
Because you have
prisons.
to put buildings up to put them in.
I would dig holes.
I'm
and
fine
I'd
with
just
it.
dig holes. I'd put them underground.
Well, here's one of the problems. I'll go down that road with you, Franklin.
Oh,
One
by
of
the way, I
problems
just
is
checked.
it's
The firearm death rate in Australia has fallen 85%.
If you listen to what I said, media
85%.
have now uncovered a trove of data that the government has not been releasing.
85%.
And by the way, the violent crime rate in Europe increased after the gun control measures. By the way, for example, there was a 13-year-old girl in Israel who a Palestinian teenager snuck into her bedroom, slit her throat with a knife. No gun involved, still a violent crime. And it turns out she's a U.S. citizen. The president has said absolutely nothing about that death. I am amazed
Actually, he
at the
did.
selective
Actually,
nature.
he did, John.
What did he say, Franklin?
He said
did he say that?
He said it was an outrageous act of cowardice and murder.
Really?
And that the perpetrator had to be held accountable, and there was
Did
no.
he say that it was a Palestinian Islamist that did it? No. Of course not.
Wait a minute.
So
John.
once again,
Change
it's
your
a
story
crime.
again, John. A moment
It's a
ago, he
crime.
said nothing.
Well, he didn't for days. So
no,
I'm
it was
glad
the
he
very
finally
next
did.
morning, John. That's the problem. I don't know where you get this crap, but the fact is, 90% of this stuff you spew off in here turns out to be false.
That's not true,
No,
Franklin.
it is true. All right. First of all, Australia didn't confiscate anybody's
They
guns.
did confiscate,
They did a
Franklin.
voluntary buyback and paid people for them, and
Franklin,
they turned them in for the
required
money.
you to turn
no,
your
they did
guns
not.
in.
They did not.
Look, folks, you can read into this anything
No,
you
no,
want in
here's
Franklin's
what you can read
verbiage.
into it. John goes to some nutty conspiracy sites, and they give him these ominous stories every day, and he comes in and reads them back like some kind of Stepford wife.
Stepford wife.
That's right.
Well, folks, if you trust Franklin and the liberals with your gun rights, then you deserve whatever loss of freedom you're going to have, because that's what it is. And by the way, Franklin, you can call it whatever you want. Like, for example, in Great Britain, they said, oh, you can own your gun. Yeah, you have to store it at a shooting club under lock and key. So you don't have access to it. So a lot of us who believe in the right of self-defense say that is a deprivation of our right of self-defense. Now, you as a good lawyer will use that terminology and go, well, you still can own a gun. Sure, you just don't have access to it.
John, nobody here is trying to take your gun away from you.
That's not
they
true.
They might be trying
That's
to
not
limit
true.
the 450 guns you have.
That's not true, Franklin.
No, it is true.
Which gun are they trying to get rid of? The
What
AR-15?
piece of legislation our president, this ominous guy who's taking your guns, urged people to pass to take away guns?
Well,
Tell me which one
first
it
off,
was.
Franklin,
You can't name one because there wasn't
He
one.
urged the passage of a bill
Yes.
that would have violated due process for any American who inadvertently ended up on any of these government lists. And your people,
And if
the
you
very
take
own,
that view-
your very own Lewis, who fought to guarantee due process for minorities, is now demanding that we deny due process to American
No,
citizens.
he's not.
Where's the due process in what they tried to pass?
John,
There's no
I don't
due
know
process.
why you can't read these bills.
I did read them, and you're
You
still
didn't read
mixed
them
up.
very
The
clearly,
Democratic bills did not have due process.
John,
The Republican bills
Feinstein
did.
bill did have due process in it, and don't tell me it didn't. It's a load of crap for you to say that. You know it's false.
Well,
It's
why
not
did-
even close to true.
Did the Grassley bill have due process?
I haven't read
Did
the
the
Grassley
Cornyn bill have due process?
Not
your,
an-
your
not-
Democrats voted both of them. Now, those could have passed, Franklin. Why didn't the Democrats vote for them?
Can I say something? I can say why. I tell you why. The Democrats don't want a gun bill.
They'd
right
lose
now.
an issue.
They'd lose an issue. They want to keep it alive during the election.
Why don't you bring up Susan Collins' bill? It's got Democratic support.
Well,
She's a Republican. Bring it up.
I'm not. I don't like. I have my problems with the Cornyn bill, but I probably would have settled for it. The Collins bill, I probably would settle for
Okay.
that. But guess what?
Deal.
The ACLU's against
Deal.
both of those bills.
Okay. That's their job.
No, that's your liberals
No.
are against that too.
No, that's their job. They take absolutist positions on every constitutional issue. That's what they do. It serves a purpose in our society for debate. That doesn't threaten me. That's what we want. We want people to debate these issues.
No, you don't
but
want
then we
these.
need
That's
to
why
arrive at
your
some
people are
common
sitting
sense
down
solutions.
on the House floor violating House rules to shut down debate.
Common sense solutions.
All they have to do in the House is get 218 signatures and they can have a vote on anything they want. Oh, I'm sorry. That's a rule, and Democrats don't have to play by the rules.
Do you think what's going on? I mean, the Democrats are on the floor of the Senate.
There's a new memo by the
Congressional trying to upset the whole
Congressional
Black
Black Caucus that says they are going to cause Speaker Ryan as much trouble as they can this week.
I mean, is that a proper way for a government to act?
Let things come up for a vote. Very simple.
It did come up for a vote in the Senate, and both bills that the House are now sitting down for failed the Senate because the Democrats didn't support them.
Okay, let it come up for a vote.
It came up for a vote in a House
That
committee.
gets rid of the issue. If
Franklin,
no.
it came up for a vote in a House committee, and the Democrats on the House committee voted against it.
Let them come up for a vote.
But answer that question. It's already come up for a vote in a House committee, and it didn't pass out of committee. And Democrats
Who controlled that committee?
Democrats voted against it. It was a bipartisan vote to deny it coming out of committee.
You're telling me the Republicans voted for it?
No, they voted against it too. But my point is, it was a bipartisan vote. Franklin, your president claims we want bipartisanship. You had bipartisanship. Republicans and Democrats voted it down in committee.
Bring the Collins bill up and see what happens.
The Collins bill hasn't passed the Senate. The two bills they demanded last week had already been voted down in the Senate.
The Collins bill will pass.
Look, Franklin.
Here's the problem.
If it fails the Senate, it doesn't matter whether it passes the House.
That's right, because we got to get 60 votes there to get a vote.
You didn't get your own Democrats to vote for it, Franklin. The Democrats voted against it in the Senate
and the House. There weren't 60 votes.
The Democrats don't want to pass anything.
No, they don't. They want a grandstand. By the way, while they were sitting in the floor of the Senate, they were actually fundraising off of that, which, by the way, a couple of the House members were sending out tweets on their official accounts while they were sitting there, which is a violation of law.
Then prosecute them.
Well, then you'll make a martyr out of them.
It's hard to prosecute anybody in government anymore.
With this Justice Department.
That's right.
Oh, I'm sorry. Darn Republicans. I guess we should have appointed a Democrat. Huh?
I got something here. The Obama administration on Friday said that it believed that airstrikes it has conducted outside conventional war zones like Afghanistan have killed 64 to 116 civilian bystanders and about 25 members of terrorist groups. Okay? Most of the strikes have been carried out by drones. Mm-hmm. Now then, Mr. Obama is wanting to, he signed let's see here. President Obama issued an executive order making civilian protection a priority and requiring the government in the future to disclose the number of civilian deaths each year.
Sure.
The use of the range of estimated civilian deaths underscored that the fact that the government often does not even know what affiliations they are that were killed.
Sure.
Okay. So why would we go through some kind of bureaucracy like this? If we're in a war zone and we're bombing, why are we trying to keep up with civilian deaths from a drone blowing up a building? What's the purpose of that?
I guess for us to examine ourselves and determine if we believe in what we're doing or not.
Well,
we lost the Vietnam War because of this very attitude. We lost it in the media. We lost it with politicians. For example, when we firebombed Dresden in World War II, does anybody even want to guess how many collateral civilian deaths were involved? We didn't discuss that.
Actually,
because
we
had to defeat Nazism. Frankly, we didn't worry about it. We didn't publish it. We didn't put it out at the time and go, look what we're doing. We did what we had to do to win the war.
I mean, how do you keep up with this? This is an executive order.
By the way, you want to know one thing?
If you're bombing, are we going to go in there and just start picking up sticks?
First of all, these aren't B-52s dropping carpet bombs.
They're drones.
These are specifically targeted for particular individuals. Okay?
Yeah.
All right.
And why are those individuals in the middle of, let's say, for example, school children?
Well, that's a good question,
because
John.
they're cowards who use that.
Agreed, John.
And you know what'll happen?
Agreed, John.
If enough collateral damage happens, the public in that region will turn against them. The whole point of a war is to make it so unpleasant that the other side wants to quit.
Sometimes it has the opposite
Well, then
effect.
I guess we'll have to blow some more up. because your only other option is to give in to
Well,
them.
John, I'm not actually afraid to examine what I do. Yeah, if I target a missile on somebody and I blow up 50 school children in the middle of it, I think I ought to stop and think about it for a few minutes.
All right, let
And
me
I don't
ask you a
think
question,
there's
Franklin.
anything wrong
so
with
when you
that.
come out and you put that
And
out,
I don't care who the
and
president
you put
is when
that
that
out
happens.
in real time, and you say, well, you know
Nobody
what?
said anything about real time.
This is real time. We're in the middle of the war right now. It is real time, Franklin. They're blowing us up right and left all around the world. They're shooting us. They're cutting our throats. It's real time.
What just
and when
happened
you
in
put
Florida?
that kind of information out, the first thing the terrorists do is, guess what? We're going to set up every headquarters we have in the middle of a school. That's what they'll do because they don't care.
And you think they've just reached this because of this report. Is
Well,
that right?
Let's tell them we're going to pull out of the country and see what happens. Why don't we just tell them we're leaving? See what happens.
And give them
we
a
saw
date
what
and
happened
time.
when we told them that.
Well, we saw what happened when we came in, too, didn't we?
And but we'd already paid that price. There's a difference, but you keep wanting to have that argument again. Fine, let's give you that argument. We shouldn't have been there.
That's not
We
the
were
point,
already
John.
there, and we already paid the price,
See,
and we
you
already
actually,
won the war.
you actually missed the point, John.
And the point being?
The point isn't relitigating that. It's that we don't have a very good track record, and that goes across Republicans and Democrats, by the way.
But Franklin, the
No,
point is,
no,
we
you no.
pulled out
I'm
and
telling
made
you
a
what the point
terrorist-
is. I don't need you to do it for me.
Well,
The point is that we don't have a very good track record of predicting the long-term effect of the things we do.
Franklin, we have a perfect track record of predicting what happens when you pull out and create a vacuum. Everybody told the president not to do it. He went against his own military advisors when he did that. He created a vacuum in Iraq. Now, should we have been there 8 years, 9 years before? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But the point is, we'd already paid that price in money, in life, in toil, and we had some benefit in our hands, and this president gave every bit of it away.
What benefit?
We had a stable country. Now, we had to continue to increase or put energy into that system through having some presence of troops. This president, not only did he pull everybody out, he told them when, why, and where he was going to pull them. And he created a
Wait a minute.
vacuum.
Let's draw the line in the sand again, too.
Well, don't do that or you're going to pay for it. And then after you do it, well, don't do it again. And now how many times have they used chemical weapons? Over and over and over, and nothing happened.
All right, let's change the subject again. How about texting 911? Should that be allowed to happen?
Don't know why not.
There's some issues going on about, the deal down in Florida. A lot of the people were trying to text 911. They
Sure,
couldn't.
didn't want to audibly make a sound.
Yeah, they didn't want to make a sound.
Sure.
They were trying to text 911. They were texting their relatives and
Having
telling
them
them to call 911.
Yeah, sure.
Should it be allowed for someone to be able to text
Why not?
911?
What would be the argument against it?
I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's to be honest, it's similar to the gun control argument. You can't change technology. Technology is what it is. It's there. It'll always be there. So the idea that we shouldn't,
I mean, right now, I don't know that 911 has the
but
equipment
that's
to
my
accept
point.
the text, but it's going to happen.
911 will have to figure out how to deal with this and
I
how to
don't-
accept it. Now, keep in mind, people have this weird thing about online. I'm not a big fan of online because it reduces inhibitions in what you say and do. So you will have people that will abuse the texting of 911, and you have to make sure you prosecute those people, break it off in them, and teach them they have to be.
And they
just as
prosecute
responsible.
people now
Right.
for making false
Calls.
911 calls.
I'm just saying, as soon as you allow the texting, you'll have an influx for a while of improper texting.
The beauty of that is, though, those trace right back to the phone of the owner it belongs
and
to.
you have to prosecute them,
Sure.
and
That
you know.
happens.
It looks like they're saying that they feel that the 911 texting would triple the amount of 911 calls and create a lot of havoc with
I don't know why that would be.
with
Why?
emergency situations.
Why would people
text
do that
anymore.
more often? Well, it's the same amount of energy required to dial 911.
I mean, the point would be, if you have a fundamental understanding of what 911 is, it doesn't really matter. For example,
they already get calls for
how about a
people's
deaf mute?
cat in a tree or
How
something.
about a deaf mute? How does a deaf mute use 911 services?
Yeah. Have you ever called 911?
Yes, I call.
Have you ever called 911?
I have not.
I have. I think I've done it 2 or 3 times.
Your
And
wife was mad at you.
Yeah, right. But it's always amazing to me how many questions they ask back to the
I
caller.
agree.
Mm-hmm, sure.
I mean, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, but these kids can text faster than they can talk.
Oh, I know.
Mm-hmm.
I guess a 911 for some of these kids, they can 911 explain exactly what's going on.
I could see that issue being part of it, that it's very time intensive for the recipient to respond to that, because they'd have to do it by some text format also.
Yeah. But to me,
I think
a 911 call, if you're calling for help to a certain address, somebody needs to go ahead and send the emergency group ASAP, then ask questions.
Well,
and to me, it's a little bit slow
that's
asking questions.
Well,
no,
the fact is that there are people who, not always intentionally, it's not really a nefarious thing. People will call with problems that may not truly be an emergency.
Well, there are people that call about McDonald's won't give me the
hot coffee.
Well, no, they had a lady call and said they're advertising, $10 for 10 hamburgers. They only gave me 9.
They'll get calls, for example. It might be completely legitimate that somebody's neighbor is, shooting fireworks off at 3 o'clock in the morning, in the middle of the week, and that's arguably a crime. That's something you would call the police for, but it's not an emergency.
Right.
But some people think, oh, well, you just call 911. They're not trying to do anything wrong there. They're trying to be good citizens, but,
Frankly, maybe you can expound on this. I don't understand, because I do call. If I see someone driving dangerously on the interstate, I'll call it in, because I think as a citizen, you owe some responsibility to your fellow citizens to try and make things better in the world. But I have an odd memory. I can remember numbers pretty well. So I remembered the city police department's number. And so in my brain, I could distinguish between what was an emergency, 911, and what is more of just a, hey, let me let y'all know about this. But when you call the city, it refers you to the 911 board. So they've actually removed any kind of discretion from the public's view. And I'm not sure I agree with that. If I called the city police, I meant to talk to the city police.
Yeah.
And then they go through 3 or 4 times, by the way, if this is an emergency, call 911. Well, gosh, if you're you're already in trouble if you have to have that explained to you 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a break. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Backfire with Steve Hickson. We'll be right back after this.
Woot FM is your hometown oasis. WOOP LP Cleveland. Whoop Island. Radio 99.
Check into cash. The cash you need today is waiting for you at Check into Cash. It's your money, so come in and get it.
Get a payday advance today for up to $425. At Check into Cash, we make it quick, easy, and confidential.
The cash you need is right here, so stop worrying and stop in to Check into Cash today.
Borrowers often use payday advances over a period of months, which can be expensive. Restrictions apply. See store for details.
Guns, guns, and more guns. That's right, folks. U.S. Money Shops has just received a large shipment of pre-owned Glock 22s, 23s, and the awesome Beretta 8040D Cougar. These guns are law enforcement trade-ins that start at just $379.99 while supplies last. At U.S. Money Shops, there's no shortage of guns, so if you're looking for a great deal on a newer pre-owned gun, then check us out first.
Buy or sell or hunt today, the better way at U.S. Money Shops.
Visit usmoneyshops.com for the location nearest you.
After 135 years, Hardwick Clothes, America's oldest since 1880, has delivered on our commitment to produce the finest navy blazer in America. This limited edition blazer was announced as the style winner in Garden and Guns Made in the South Awards. Crafted in Cleveland, Tennessee, we use premium Italian wool from the Tale Barbarus, custom Bimberg lining, and signature gold buttons. It's available through the finest men's stores or at hardwick.com.
Hello, my name is Andy Figelstaller with Ed Jacobs and Associates. We are an employee benefit and insurance broker in business for the past 20 years. The new healthcare law, also known as Obamacare, has finally arrived. The law is complex and the choices are confusing. You have questions, we have the answers. It is our passion to find cost-effective solutions for every client. The solutions will be different for every person or business. Let our knowledge, experience, and passion go to work for you. Contact us today and let us assist you through this process. Our phone number is 423-473-0202, or you can find us on the web at edjacobs.com.
Train engineers put our heating and cooling products for almost every test imaginable. So while you're sending your kids to school, they're sending 10,000 volts through a compressor. Testing like this is the reason Train is so reliable, and why our engineers prefer their steaks. Well done.
Ready to indulge in Train comfort? Call a Train comfort specialist at Mechanical Systems, 336-5739. High-quality service and installation for more than 30 years.
It's hard to stop a train. Really hard.
Yeah, you looking for something sweet? I know you are. Bring your little sweet self to the Village Bake Shop. Around since 1961, there ain't a baked good in the galaxy the Village Bake Shop can't whip up for you. So when you're ready to treat your mouth to a taste you won't soon forget, get over to the Village Bake Shop in the Village Green Town Center, or give them a call at 476-5179. You dig?
No dealers allowed.
Jackson Catnapper, family owned and operated in Cleveland since 1933, offering the best with over 70 styles of recliners, sofas, electronic lift chairs, full living room packages. Call Mike now at 961-7239 because Jackson Catnapper now offers sales to the public
every Saturday. That's right, every Saturday.
From 8 in the morning to 1 in the afternoon. Or call Mike at 961-7239 or go see him
every Saturday
at 1911 King Edward Avenue, just across from the main plant. Jackson Catnapper, family owned and operated in Cleveland since 1933. 961-7239.
No dealers allowed.
You're listening to Backfire with Steve Hickson on Whoop FM. Call 423-614-5553 to join in on the conversation. Now, back to Backfire.
Classified material to anyone on my email.
I
did not
have
email
sexual
any
relations
classified
with that
material to
Ms.
anyone
Lewinsky.
on my email.
I
did not
have
email
sexual
any
relations
classified material to
Ms.
anyone
Lewinsky.
on my email.
I
did not
have
email
sexual
any
relations with that
classified
woman.
material.
Okay, keep saying it one more time.
Not email any classified material to anyone on my email.
I
did not
have
email
sexual
any
relations with that
classified
woman.
material to
Ms.
anyone
Lewinsky.
on my email.
I
did not
have
email
When am I getting
any
the Trump list?
classified material to
Liar, 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 pants
I
on
got to
fire.
send it to you, huh? I got to send it to you, huh?
Liar, 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 pants on fire. I did not.
You know, their cadence was very similar, too.
Yeah.
Well, we have to speak slowly so Republicans will understand.
No, I love.
Yeah, because we only understand the truth.
I love this new comment came out yesterday. I heard. I just love this. I think this is just proper. It hits the spot. That Bill and Hillary Clinton are the political version of Bonnie and Clyde.
I heard that.
I love that. I think that probably just nailed it. Mm-hmm. Now, what do you think about everything that just came down about this Hillary decision?
Well, as our hundreds of thousands of listeners who are loyal followers will recall, for the last 9 months, I've been saying that I thought she deserved criticism for making a bad decision and being reckless, if you will, with the way she was doing it.
Would you classify it as part stupid?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure I would.
All right.
And I also said, but I could not for the life of me figure out what the crime was. Okay?
Let me ask you a question.
And hold up. Let me finish. And that's exactly what, by the way, the Republican who has tenure, who's not up for reappointment or anything, who's the head of the FBI, concluded that she made a bad decision, that it was reckless that what she did, Okay? But he couldn't find a crime.
I think he found a crime, but he wasn't allowed to do anything about it.
No.
All right,
I'm
Franklin,
sorry. First of all,
what's the-
understand he's got a 10-year term. All right? Obama can't fire him.
But
Okay?
someone who
Doesn't work that way.
But someone
Okay?
who doesn't have a 10-year term is Loretta Lynch, which it's now been released that Hillary is considering letting her stay.
Okay, but she didn't make the decision.
She did make the decision. So
No,
a week
the
ago,
FBI did.
Yeah, Franklin. I'm sure that's everybody believes that. Here, your problem is the public can look at this. The
Listen,
public
John.
can see this, and they see the reality behind the spin.
What about on the tarmac? The meeting
Shouldn't have happened.
Huh?
Shouldn't have happened.
Well, it doesn't happen. And you know
That's
what?
why. That's why she removed herself from the decision and said, "I'm going to accept whatever they recommend."
Do you think that they were talking about grandkids and so forth over there on that tarmac?
You do know that Bill had his plane wait for her plane.
Yes.
And apparently the security people actually didn't want that because it put two motorcades on the same tarmac, which was complicated. So Bill went out of his way to create this meeting.
Agreed. Stupid.
Because he wanted to talk about grandchildren, right?
Whatever the reason, stupid.
Well, is there any way for us to know what actually was talked about?
I'd love to have been a fly on the wall.
Why is there not? Because she ordered everyone off the plane and ordered no pictures to be taken.
But what I do know is, first of all, she has a long history of prosecuting Democrats and Republicans and has done so many times, number one. But number two...
Why didn't she tell Bill to get off the plane?
Number two, she should have.
Well, no, she took him on.
Number two, she did the right thing by recusing herself from being involved in the decision.
Did she release that the meeting happened?
What?
She never released that the meeting happened, Franklin.
It was the next day it
You're
came
right,
out.
because it broke through an investigative reporter. And the Bureau, the
next day.
Justice Department, never commented on it until after it broke. It had not been put in any of the official documentation.
The next day.
You're right, but my point is, Franklin, she didn't document it at the time.
Well, that's true. She didn't tweet out that she's having
No,
on
she
the spot.
ordered no pictures to be taken.
She
How many
did the right
ex-presidents? How many
She recused
ex-presidents-
herself.
How many ex-presidents meet with someone and there's not pictures taken?
Oh, happens all the time.
Franklin, she ordered the details to keep
Happens all
people
the time.
back and to not allow any photos to be taken, which is an indication that she knew she shouldn't be doing it at the time. And what kills me is Franklin and all the Democrats go, both of them say they wouldn't do it again. Well, of course not. They don't have to do it again. The fix was in.
If she were making the decision, I think you'd be exactly right.
Well, Franklin, when you're making a deal like this, a quid pro quo to keep your job in the next administration, you only have to meet once.
John, why would James Comey, a lifelong dedicated Republican,
I will tell you why.
Why would he
I will tell you
participate in this grand conspiracy?
I will tell you why. I think he did exactly the same thing that Justice Roberts did on the Obamacare decision. He looked at this in the grand scheme of things, and he said this will be a history-altering decision. It would have probably pulled her out of the presidential race, and he did not want to be that man in history. For example, Franklin, show me in the statute that he cited where it requires intent.
I think the word in the statute is gross negligence.
Show me where it says intent.
John,
so
I just told you what I think it says.
Well, what you didn't say is that it doesn't say intent, does it? Nowhere in the statute does it mention intent. And yet the linchpin of why he says no charges should be filed was that he couldn't find any intent.
Okay.
Well, one, he's not the prosecutor. He's simply the investigator.
Yes, and he made a recommendation.
Based on intent. But nowhere in the statute does it say
He made a
intent.
recommendation.
Does it say intent anywhere?
No, I'm just going to back up.
Let me ask
This
a
is
question.
a lifelong Republican
got
who,
you.
when he was appointed, by the way, was
Franklin.
hold on, was praised to the heavens by the Republicans.
Look, he's a good man, but he made a
Okay.
mistake here.
Okay.
Should it have been turned over to the grand jury?
I don't see any reason
All right,
to
let
do
me
that.
ask another follow-up question. In the statute, why did Congress criminalize the mishandling of classified information through gross negligence? Because that's what the statute says. Why did they criminalize gross negligence?
Mishandling is the question, John.
He
No,
said she
no.
mishandled.
I understand.
And he said she used negligence
listen to
or
me.
extreme carelessness.
In this particular case, respectfully, there is no evidence whatsoever of anybody receiving this information from her that wasn't supposed to get it.
But
None.
frankly, they're
Zero.
not supposed to get it over an unsecured server.
John, I'm not disagreeing with you.
All right,
In
let's
fact, I have
discuss-
said repeatedly, I think it's perfectly okay to criticize her.
All right,
for
then
this.
let's criticize her.
That's a separate question.
How about
from whether it's a
the
crime.
multiple lies that she told? Because and I will say this, everybody, Republican and Democrat, said for the first 10 minutes, they thought he was going to recommend an indictment.
Okay.
Because he laid out the case against her.
Okay.
So, Franklin?
Seems to speak to his credibility then, doesn't
Here's
it?
a real interesting question. She was interviewed on a Saturday on a holiday, which, by the way, no normal American would have gotten that courtesy, but she was interviewed. Now, she is publicly on record saying things that Comey directly said were not true yesterday. So, can we see her deposition to the FBI because?
It wasn't a deposition.
Oh, so she wasn't under oath.
I don't know if she was under oath. It was not a deposition.
All
I'm
right.
just telling you.
Here's my point.
Now, let me go ahead and just give you a little background. FBI agents have the ability to put people under oath
All right,
for their
fine.
interviews. So whether that happened, I
what
don't
did Martha Stewart go to prison for?
Insider trading.
What did she? No, actually, she didn't go for insider
No,
trading.
she-
It was lying to the FBI is what she was actually convicted of.
About
lying to the
insider trading.
right, but lying to the FBI was the crime. So in Hillary's deposition Saturday, if she stuck to the talking points that she said for over a year now, then she lied to the FBI. If she didn't, then she directly contradicted her own statements to the public.
If you say so.
Well, did you read what he said?
I did read it, John.
Well, for example, she said that there were no classified emails. He said there were 110.
She said nothing was marked classified.
He actually said there were marked classified ones.
Yeah, he did.
He refuted every talking
I'm
point
just
she
telling
had.
you. Okay.
She said that.
And I'm sure we're going to see a million commercials about it. Again, I think it's perfectly fair game to criticize her for that.
By the way, she also said that her lawyers went through all the emails and read them to make sure that no business ones were included. He said yesterday the lawyers didn't even read them. So explain that discrepancy, Franklin. Those were her own lawyers.
I don't know the answer.
Well,
to
would
that.
a lie be a good description of that?
John, I'm fine with your criticism. I just don't think you can have it both ways.
Well, let's have it another way.
No, wait. You want to adopt his criticism, but then you want to absolutely reject his conclusion.
Well, that's true because it's a poor conclusion. But by the way, let's talk. Are you familiar with former CIA director Deutsch? I believe you.
John Deutsch.
Deutsch. Are you familiar with him?
Mm-hmm.
What was he charged with?
I don't remember.
He was charged, he'd lost his security clearance, and he was charged with storing classified information on a private server at his home. He had already agreed to plead guilty to that. Do you know why he didn't have to plead guilty to it?
I don't know.
Because on the last day in office, President Clinton pardoned him and he pardoned him without talking to the current CIA director, Tenet. Didn't talk to anybody in the CIA, and he pardoned him for the exact crime that we're now saying Hillary didn't commit.
Okay.
Well, the CIA or the FBI director yesterday said that no one had been charged with that. Deutsch actually was charged with that, and had he not been pardoned by her husband, he would have gone to jail for it.
What I do know is that we have circumstances where people took classified information, gave it to people who were not entitled to have it. And those people got charged with a misdemeanor.
Well, he also said that 7 of the emails were marked top secret. Any person should have known that they should not have been.
And by the way,
on
she
a
signed
private
a
server.
document saying she would be responsible whether it was marked or unmarked. Did she not?
I'm sorry, what
She
now?
signed
Say it
an
again.
agreement when she took over as Secretary of State, stating that she was responsible whether they were marked or unmarked. And by the way, just for your information, less than a year ago, U.S. attorneys Gene Hobler and Lee Bickley successfully prosecuted Naval Reservist Brian Nishimura in a strikingly similar case. Nishimura caused the materials to be downloaded and stored on his personal, unclassified electronic devices and storage media. He carried the classified materials on his unauthorized media when he traveled off base in Afghanistan, and he ultimately carried the materials back home to the United States at the end of his deployment. Like Clinton, he admitted to destroying a large quantity of classified materials. Unlike Clinton, the FBI investigating in his actions did not reveal evidence that he intended to distribute it, but he was sentenced to 2 years probation, a $7,500 fine, and forfeiture of personal media containing the material. He was also ordered to surrender any security clearance and never to seek a security clearance again. So here's a guy who did exactly what she did with no intent, and he was punished.
First of all, there's 2 laws involved. The first one is it's a crime to knowingly and willfully disclose or transmit secret information to an unauthorized person. That's the first one.
Were her lawyers authorized? Did they have security clearance?
I don't know.
They didn't. So that right there is a violation of that law.
If you say so, John.
It is.
That's the FBI
She had no
director.
permission.
The FBI director didn't
She
find
had
that.
no right. Of course, he didn't.
The second law involved makes it a crime to remove documents kept by the government,
which she did.
Where
No,
are they? Where's
she
the
didn't.
113 documents?
No, she
missing?
didn't.
Where are they?
How did she not remove them when they went to her basement in New York and then to a
She
bathroom in
didn't
Colorado?
take documents to her basement. Documents originated there.
Well,
and then got
actually, we
sent
don't
to-
even know that because she had multiple servers and she only turned one of them in.
or to allow them to be stolen through gross negligence.
Well, he said that they couldn't find proof that they were stolen, but he assumed that they were.
He said he wouldn't assume they weren't.
He
There's a
said
difference
that
there.
it was
in
unusual
any
to
event,
find it
those
because
are
they
the
were
2
so
laws
good.
that are involved. In this lifelong Republican, I'm going to say it again,
Franklin,
who's not subject to being fired.
Well, unlike you, Franklin, Republican or not, for me it's right or wrong. And in this case, I don't care whether he's a Republican. He's wrong. His conclusion is wrong.
It's only.
Was the fix in, Franklin?
Absolutely.
Was the
Why
fix
would
in?
the fix be in
The
for this
public
guy?
knows, Franklin.
Why would this Republican?
Because he didn't want to be the pariah.
She didn't make the decision.
Whoa, you don't
She
think
didn't. He didn't meet. He didn't meet with James Comey.
Do you think he was getting the decision from her?
No.
I'd like to
So
bet a
let me
fly on
see
the
if I
wall.
got you. Let me make sure I understand you, Franklin. So he's the director of the FBI. The president endorses her a month ago.
Yes.
The former president has a clandestine secret meeting with his boss a week ago. The president
She is not
loads
his
her
boss.
up
That's your
on
first
Air
mistake.
Force One.
She is not
the
his boss.
day that he has to come out and make this
That's
announcement.
your first mistake. She is not his boss. That's the problem with your logic.
She is higher up the chain than he
She
is.
is not the FBI director's boss.
Okay.
Well, I want to know who's paying for the plane.
Yeah, who's playing for Air Force One? You think that's appropriate?
You think it's appropriate for her to be
Did
on
Bush
that
ever
plane
do that?
politicking?
Did Bush load McCain up
You
and
can't do
fly him
that on a
around?
private plane anymore. You cannot put someone on a private jet anymore unless it's for business.
I'm sorry, what?
You can't even put a person on a private plane. In other words, if I own a company and I'm going, let's say, to Florida,
Yeah.
okay, and I'm going down there on business,
Sure.
and I want to take a friend with me, I can't do it unless I pay for them. I can't.
Because you're deducting it off your tax.
That's correct. Now then, who's
Sure.
paying for Hillary?
Well, her portion of it, she had to reimburse from the campaign.
Franklin, do you think that's appropriate?
That's a different question from whether that's legal.
Is it
or not.
appropriate for the president of the United States?
Well, it
Because
happens-
President George W.
it
Bush, as
happens
much
all
as you
the
hated
time.
him, was decent about the campaign that was going on. And you have to admit, he stayed out of it. He didn't want to be a polarizing figure. He didn't want to make problems in the country worse. This president doesn't care.
It might have had something to do with his approval rating at the time, too.
Franklin, there are plenty of areas that he could have gone that he would have helped McCain.
Where's
And he
that?
chose not. He could have gone to Texas with him.
Texas wasn't an issue
he
for
could have come
McCain.
to Tennessee with him.
Neither of those places
actually,
would he help
Tennessee
them.
is who put George W. Bush in over homeboy.
I'm talking
Al
about
Gore.
McCain.
I know Obama is desperate.
desperate. He's got a 55% approval rating right now.
No, he's
That's
desperate.
only because
Desperate?
it's not in the news.
No, he's desperate because, and Hillary's desperate. My God, she's grasping for anybody to come talk about her.
She's up by 6 points in the polls.
Yeah.
Why is she desperate?
We'll see.
By
how
the way,
far it
Franklin,
goes.
why did she burn her daily schedules, which, by the way, is a violation of law as well?
Why did 8 of George W. Bush's top security officials come out and endorse her this
Franklin,
week?
answer this question. Her schedule.
Why is that?
Her daily schedules had a .gov address on them, which makes them public records. She placed them according to Huma Abedin's testimony. She put her daily schedules into the burn bag and had them burned. That came out this weekend. So why would she be burning her daily schedules?
No idea.
And by the way, this is the same woman who hid meetings with donors, political donors, on her daily schedule.
I've got a follow-up question to that. Where did they burn them? Did they go out back at the White House and just put them in a barrel?
Actually, the State Department, every day, through every administration, gets rid of some documents every single day.
The point is not the burn bag, though, Franklin. The point
Every
is,
day.
why did she put her daily schedules into the burn bag?
Don't know. You'd have to ask
And
her.
that doesn't bother you?
Her daily schedule?
Yes, it shows who she met with, Franklin. You know, like meeting with a Saudi businessman who donates $25 million to the Clinton Foundation and then gets a preferable decision out of the State Department. Something like that.
Wouldn't you think that would be...
And by the way, we may still have the last laugh because Julian Assange in WikiLeaks is claiming that he has troves of Hillary's emails and will be releasing them.
Okay. Maybe
Who
you will.
does?
WikiLeaks.
Who's WikiLeaks?
That's the international, basically, I don't know what you want to call him, but it's the Snowden's buddy that released all the government documents. By the way, Hillary Clinton actually said that Chelsea Manning, the private who's now going through sex change operations, should be prosecuted for what he did with national security data, which is actually very similar to what she did.
No, it's not very similar at all.
Okay.
He gave them away. She didn't do that.
She gave them to her lawyers who have no security clearance.
Okay.
That's a violation of the law right there.
Do you think she just didn't know that she was
She doesn't
lying
care.
about classified emails when she said she had not done any? Do you think she just was that naive that she didn't realize that?
Material
Wait a
to
minute.
anyone on my email.
I'm hearing something.
Did not
Have
email
sexual
any
relations
classified
with that. We're
material
repaying the loop
to
again.
anyone on my email.
She did not have any classified emails.
I demand a bimbo loop. You look really good on your knees, Luke.
What did she not? Did she just not understand that she was lying about classified emails when she said she had not sent any classified emails?
Well, I want to read his statement more closely, but my recollection is she said marked classified.
Well,
Now,
he
hold
actually
on,
addressed
hold
that.
on. If she received an email from an outside source,
It's kind of like it.
no,
The definition of it.
no. If she received an email from an outside source and the information in it would be classified,
All right,
but it came from an outside
Let
source.
me read you her quote and his quote. So if you haven't read it, I'll read it to you. Her quote was, "No information in Clinton's emails was marked classified at the time she sent or received them." That was that's on her campaign website.
Okay.
Now this is a quote from Comey. "Even if information is not marked classified in an email," hang on. "Participants who know or should know that the subject matter is classified are still obligated to protect it." Now,
Agreed.
hang on.
Agreed.
That's the first part of his statement. The second part is, this is a direct quote, "Only a very small number of the emails containing classified information bore markings indicating the presence of classified information," which means there were marked classified emails in the system.
Okay, well,
And by the way,
hold
Franklin,
on.
her lawyers
let me just
scrubbed their things so completely that the FBI said, and they indicated it was an unusual manner that these were deleted, that they weren't retrievable. Why would they go to that much trouble?
Because they're guilty.
Because she's a criminal.
All right. Do you think the fix was in?
No.
You don't think Now I want to
No,
go through.
no,
John,
listen.
let's be quiet.
No,
Let
listen.
me go through
9
this.
months ago, I sat on this very radio show.
I understand
and
what you said.
I think
You
it
thought
was
she was
terrible
stupid.
judgment. She should be criticized for that.
She was stupid.
But I could not see what the crime was, and I'm still there. I don't see what
So
the crime
you think
is.
this Davy man that was actually punished for the same thing, he shouldn't have been?
I think she would be.
So how would you rule on his appeal?
But since she's running for president, they laid off of her.
Comey did not want to be the guy that
That's
threw
right.
the election into turmoil.
I think it's pretty much, if you took everything that happened, I think that she would be guilty of something. But they laid off of her because she is a presidential
By the way,
candidate.
the same day that Comey was announcing this, the U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals ruled that government officials can't use private email servers to avoid Freedom of Information Act requests. Very same day.
Sure.
Judge David Sentel, the chief judge for the U.S. Court of Appeals D.C. Circuit Court, disagreed with the reasoning that you could, because it was on a private server.
I agree with that ruling.
Well, this is exactly what she did.
No.
Yes.
Well,
we have
yeah,
emails
she
where
used
she said,
but the Freedom of Information request would apply to her too.
But my point is, this is retroactive because of what she did, because of what this entire administration has done. They have systematically tried to hide things from the public.
All right, John, this question is for you. Do you think Bill and Hillary are the political version of Bonnie and Clyde?
I think that the liberal progressives are systematically dismantling the rule of law, and I think someone like Franklin, if he was a true classical liberal in the classic liberal sense, would be concerned and worried about what we're seeing today.
The way the laws are being handled.
We are destroying the rule of law. You had Republicans and Democrats, former FBI people, former Justice Department people on both sides of the aisle that are extremely bothered by what we're seeing with this. They're seeing basically the rule of law being, you have one set of law. Matter of fact, Comey in his own remarks said any other individual doing this probably would be subject to fines and punishment, but she's not. And the American people need to think about that.
Okay.
Last comment? No
I
comment.
called it right 9 months ago.
Yeah, he knew the fix was in.
Bye-bye now.
You've been listening to Backfire with Steve Hickson, John Stanberry, and Franklin Chansey. Catch them again on Whoop FM at noon today and every Wednesday morning from 7:30 to 8:30.